So, back on the downfall of King Saul. 1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 6, and it came to pass, as they came when David was turned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments and music. And the women answered one as they played and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. So these men back then were on a different type of level, man. They was killing thousands of men. Saul killed a thousand men, and David killed 10,000 men. You know, and that's a spiritual power. And it says, verse 8, and Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him, and he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands, and what can he have more but the kingdom? So Saul was kind of mad, like, yo, like, what can he more have than what? What you gonna say next? He has a kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. So Saul kind of had an evil eye towards David. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from YAHAWAH came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David playing with his hand as at other times. And there was a javelin in Saul's hand. Verse 11. And Saul cast a javelin, for he said, Saul kind of took the javelin, he kind of threw it. For he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. David kind of, got out of there, man. And Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him and was apart from Saul. So Saul went off more than once. The first time Saul went off was when he offered up burnt offerings. Then Saul, what else he did? He didn't kill King Agag. And then Saul had the evil eyes toward David. So at this point, the Lord departed from King Saul, and Saul was Salaki, and the Lord was raising up David to be king over Israel. So the Lord kind of departed from King Saul, man. So you can read more about King Saul's acts in the previous chapters, going into 15, 16, 17, 14, and 13, about more things that he did, And this was the second time that an evil spirit came on King Saul, because Saul was doing wickedly, man. So, I'm going to jump down to verse 17. This is just how wicked Saul is being. 17. And Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter, Merabah, her will I give to wife. Only be thou valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. So Saul was like, told David, be strong for me and fight the Lord's battles, and I will give you my elder daughter for you to have as a wife. For Saul said, let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. So Saul was so wicked that he was like, you know what? I'm not going to kill him myself. Ha ha ha. I'm going to send him out to war, and I'm going to send him out to war, send David out to war, and hope that the Philistines kill him, man. That's how wicked Saul was getting, man. And verse 18, and David said unto Saul, who am I? David was like, who am I? And what is my life, or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? So David was like, who am I? I'm just a man of Israel. Why should I be son-in-law to you? You're the king, man. You're the Lord's anointed. David was a man that heart was right with the Lord, man. He was a man that was humble, and he had respect for the Lord, and he had respect for King Saul. Even though Saul was being wicked, he still had respect for him because the Lord anointed him to be king, and he was still the Lord's anointed. The Lord's anointed, Salaki. Verse 19. But it came to pass at that time, when Merabah, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel, the Meloite, to wife. Verse 20. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. So Saul was kind of pleased. And Saul said, I would give him her, that she may be a snare to him. So Saul was so wicked, he's like, okay, I'm gonna give him my daughter, my younger daughter, so she can be a to him. So he kind of wanted David to get caught up, you know, with the affairs of his wife. You know, he was just being wicked, man. He was having an evil eye towards David, just because they said David killed his 10,000s and Saul his thousands, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, "Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law, in the one of the twain." Meaning, you know, you're gonna come in, you're gonna go into my daughter, you know, you're gonna marry my daughter, you're gonna be my son-in-law. Because marriage is when you have sex with somebody, you become entwined with them. You know. Is that all that I wanted? Oh, let me keep on reading. So I'm gonna jump down to I'm gonna keep on reading. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, "Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king have delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law." And Saul's servants spoke those words into the ears of David, and David said, "See if it's you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and a lightly esteemed." David was like, "Yo, I'm just like a kind of poor man." And the servants of Saul told him, saying, On this matter spake David. And Saul said, Thus shall you say to David, the king desireth not any dowry. So Saul told his servants to tell David that I don't desire any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines. So Saul is basically saying, told David, it doesn't matter if you're poor or not, you know, I still want you to be my son-in-law. But he said, the only thing I want from you to do is to go and kill the Philistines, and I want 100 foreskins off the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. So Saul was so wicked, he told David, look, I don't want any dowries from you. I don't want any gifts or anything. You don't have to worry about anything. I want you to be my son-in-law. But the only thing I want you to do is to go fight my enemies and to avenge those that were slain, you know, by the Philistines. Go out, kill the Philistines, and cut off their foreskins and bring it back to me. So that's how wicked Saul was. And he did it to trick David, so that it could be such a hard task to David, so that David can kind of die from doing this. Verse 26, and when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law. So David's kind of happy, man. And the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose, he and his men. So David kind of rose, kind of put on his armor, his breastplate, you know, the breastplate of righteousness, that sword of truth, you know, that he might be. Wherefore David arose, he and his men, and slew the Philistines 200 men. So David and his men slew 200 Philistines, man. That's a lot of killing. And David brought their foreskins and gave them a full tale to the king, that he might be the son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul said, and Saul knew, Slakia, and Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. So at that point, Saul kind of perceived, like, okay, he didn't die, so the Lord must be with him. So Saul, ever since from that point on, going on, Saul kept trying to come up with ways on how to kill David, because Saul was being wicked as hell. Salakia. So I'm gonna go to 1 Samuel chapter 28. And on the previous chapters, you can before I get to 1 Samuel 28, going on from 1 Samuel 18, reading on, Saul was trying to seek David's life and kill him, and David had to flee, man. David had to depart from Saul, because Saul was trying to kill him. You know, because Saul had an evil eye towards David. He was being wicked. So I'm going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 28. First Samuel 28, verses 4. Now, this is another time Saul went off. And Saul went off in another big way, man. 1 Samuel 28, verse 4. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shenumah. And Saul gathered all Israel together and they pitched in Gibeah. Salakia. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So at this time, the Lord wasn't dealing with Saul. Saul didn't answer him. Salakia. The Lord didn't answer Saul. Then Saul said unto his servant, seek me a woman that have a familiar spirit. So a familiar spirit is a witch, a woman that's doing all types of witchcraft, man. That I may go to her and inquire of her. And the servant said to him, behold, there's a woman that have a familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on another raiment. So Saul kind of dressed up as another man, put on other clothes, and went to seek this witch. To know what to do. Saul basically was trying to seek help. Because the Philistines are kind of beating Israel's ass. And it says, and he went and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up whom I shall name unto thee. So he told his woman, do your witchcraft and your sorceries, and raise up, show me who I want to see. Basically, she's this woman is like, those damn witches that use the crystal ball. That's what this woman is, basically. Trying to show you something that's not there, man. A witch. Verse 9. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest what Saul have done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits. So before, when the Lord was dealing with Saul kind of killed the people that use familiar spirits. Saul kind of killed all the witches and took them out of the land. And the wizards out of the land, all those sorceries, all those sorcerers, Salaka. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? So the witch was like, look, Saul killed all the wizards and all the witches, and you come to me telling me to do some witchcraft? You're going to lay a snare for me. This is a trap. Saul is going to find me. He's going to kill me. And Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, as the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel. At this time Samuel had died. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. So the woman lied. The woman, Salakia, the woman perceived that Saul lied to her and said, you lied to me. You were Saul the whole time. Verse Salakia, in verse 18. Salakia, verse 13. And the king said unto her, be not afraid, for what sawest thou? So Saul was like, what did you see? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. Now, it says gods because the children of the Most High are actual gods. Gods are the lowercase g. Men's of power. Because the children of Israel are princes of the power. Yah-Shah-Allah, princes of the power. And it says, I saw God descending out of the earth. Now, what it meant by God descending out of the earth was, she kind of used her witchcraft, looked at Samuel's grave, and she kind of saw Samuel's spirit basically coming out of the grave. And he said unto her, what form is he? And she said, an old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. So Samuel kind of had his mantle on, He was kind of dressed like he the king, man. And he is covered with a mantle, and Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stopped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, why hast thou squitted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answered me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known to me what shall I do. So the reason why the Lord departed from Saul, because he was going off, He's trying to kill David. He didn't kill the king of the Amalekites, and he offered a burnt offering to the Lord when he wasn't supposed to. Saul was completely going off. And it says, "Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do." Then said Samuel, "Wherefore then thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thy enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by men, for the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thy hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David." So at this time, Saul was kind of going through it. The Lord wasn't dealing with him, and Salakia, the Lord was sending up David to be king. At this time, basically, the kingdom was in David's hand. If you read on the previous chapters. Verse 18, "Because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executed the fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day." So the reason why the Lord departed from Saul, because he didn't kill the king of Amalek. Verse 19, "Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines." So Samuel kind of told Saul, "Look, you're going to die. The Lord's going to put you to death by the Philistines. And your sons are going to be with me. They're going to be in the spirit world with me." Verse 20, "Then Saul fell straightway all alone on the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he hath eaten no bread all the day nor all the night." The Saul kind of basically fasted. He didn't have no strength. He was kind of sad, man. To know that the Lord wasn't dealing with him. To know that he was going to die. And his sons were going to die. And to know that the Philistines were going to whip his ass. So, his fate was sealed. Now, I'm going to jump to First Chronicles chapter 10. And we're going to wrap this up in a minute. First Chronicles chapter 10. Verses 1. I'm going to read down to verses 1 through 6. "Now the Philistines fought against Israel, Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled before the Philistines, and fell down Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines followed hard after Saul and after his sons. And the Philistines slew Jehoiakim and the men of Dad, and Mount Sehusha, the sons of Saul." So the Philistines killed the sons of Saul. And it's kind of sad because Jehoiakim died. And Jehoiakim was a mighty man, David's brother, basically. Jehoiakim showed David brotherly love. When King Saul was trying to kill David, Jehoiakim, Saul's son, was telling him, "Look, my father's going to kill you. You need to leave." So Jehoiakim was a righteous, mighty man, and it was sad that he died by the Philistines. He was showing real brotherly love to David, Jehoiakim is a real friend and a real brother, Jehoiakim was basically David's right-hand man, To speak more on Jehoiakim, he's basically the man that wouldn't turn your back on you, He wouldn't turn his back on you. He wouldn't stab you in the back. Jehoiakim was a righteous man. And it was sad that he died. Verse 3, "And the battle was sore against Saul, and the archers hit him, and he was one of the archers." So they was kind of going to war, and one of the Philistines shot an arrow, and it kind of hit Saul. And it said Saul to his armor bearer. So Saul had an armor bearer. He had a servant that would bear his armor, that would hold his armor for him, basically. Then Saul said to his armor bearer, "Draw thy sword." So he told his armor bearer, "Look, take out your sword." He said, Draw thy sword and thrust me through. So Saul said, yo, kill me, man. Saul told his armor bearer, kill me, lest these uncircumcised come and abuse me. But his armor bearer would not, for he was so afraid. And Saul took a sword and fell upon it. So Saul was like, look, either you kill me or I'm going to kill myself, because I'm not going to have these heathen kill me. That's how Saul was kind of getting down, you know. So Saul knew he was going to die. So Saul was like, you know what? Let me just do it myself. He kind of took his sword, you know, and he kind of fell upon the sword and kind of killed himself, man. That was kind of, reading it, that was kind of sad, you know. But Saul was going off, and the Lord had to take him out, you know. The Lord had to take him out. Yeah, so armor bearer was just a bearer of weapons, you know. The armor bearer is a dude that would carry the weapons. He'd be in charge of the weapons. So reading on, and when his armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell like likewise on the sword and died. So the armor bearer was like, damn, Saul is dead, I might as well kill myself too. So the armor bearer took a sword and thrust himself through. Verse 6, so Saul died, and his 3 sons and all his house died together. So the whole house of Saul basically died. So I'm jumping down to verse 8. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his sons fallen at Mount Gilboa. So the Philistines came the next day, basically, and was like, let's kind of look for children of Israel, look for the dead, and trying to basically they pillaged them, you know. Like whoever was dead, they kind of took their goods. Verse 9, and when they had stripped him, they took his head and his armor. So they kind of took Saul's head off and his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to carry tidings unto their idols and to the people. So he kind of took Saul's head off and his armor, and kind of sent it around the land as as a trophy, basically. Like, yo, we killed King Saul. Verse 10, and they put his armor in the house of their gods, and fastened his head in the temple of Dagon. And when all Jabesh Gilead heard that the Philistines had done to Saul, they arose all the valiant men, and took away the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons, and brought them to Jabesh, and buried their bones under the oak in Jabesh, and fasted 7 days. So there you have it. Verse 13, so Saul died for his transgressions which he committed against the Lord, even against the word of the Lord, which he kept not, and also for seeking counsel of one that had a familiar spirit to inquire of it, and inquired not of the Lord. Therefore he slew him, and turned the kingdom to David, son of Jesse. So that's why Saul died. You know, and his brothers, you know, went to the land of the Philistines, and they buried him, and they had to fast, because once you're among the dead, you know, you have to fast for a certain amount of days because you'd be unclean. So I'm gonna jump down. I'm gonna go to 2 Samuel chapter 1, and I'm gonna close out here on the reaction to how David reacted to the Saul's death. Even though Saul was trying to kill him, this is how David reacted. 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 17, and David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jehoiakim his son. I'm gonna jump down to verse 23. And Saul, this is 2 Samuel chapter 1 verse 23. Saul and Jehoiakim were lovely and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. So this is David speaking about Saul and Jehoiakim. Even though Saul went off and committed a lot of transgressions against the Lord, he was still a mighty man of war. And it says he was swifter than eagles. So an eagle is a bird that's swift, you know, it's fast as hell, it could fly. That's what Saul was. Saul was swifter than an eagle. Saul was killing thousands of men. You know, Saul was probably fast. He's probably chopping left and right, dodging, stabbing, you know, beating ass. And it says they were stronger than lions. Now we know that the lion is basically the top beast, you know, the strongest beast in the animal planet. You know, the fiercest, a lion, man. So a lion is strong, and we know that lions are strong, you know. And it says they were stronger than lions. So Saul and his son Jonathan were stronger than lions, man. They was killing men, slicing men up, you know, going to war, and doing all types of killing, man. Killing the heathen, man. Verse 24, Yea, ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in slake. Ye daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet of delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of battle? O Jonathan, thou was slain in thy high places. So David's kind of crying mightily, man. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Jonathan was David's brother. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of woman. So Jonathan, basically, let me say how can I word it. Let me select it. Basically, as a woman would have love for David, Jonathan's love for David surpassed that of a woman. You know, that's how much Jonathan loved David. Jonathan was a real righteous man that loved his brother. Verse 27, how are the mighty fallen and the weapons of war perish? You know, so that's how David, King David, reacted to King Saul's death. So, this is a video on Saul, the acts of King Saul, a mighty man of war, you know, from the tribe of Benjamin. He reigned from 1000 BC to, let me look at it again. Let me make sure I'm correct. 1020 BC to 1000 BC, you know. So with that, I'm going to say Shalom. I'm going to give call Lord to YAHAWAH, BASHAM, YAHAWASHI. So with that, Shalom. Call Lord to YAHAWAH, BASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BASHAM, Rakakadosh. Shalom.